Good morning or good afternoon, depends on when you're watching me. For me, right now, recording this, it's Friday morning, about 8:30. I know it's the first week of June. The sun is out today. This is the first day in a couple of days since the sun has been out. It's been overcast for the last, 3 or 4 days. So I am a happy girl. And I thought I'd come out here and spend some time with you guys and do a video. You can see my pretty flowers, aren't they pretty? So when hold on. I just did something. Let's see if there it goes. Those flowers, there's like 9 plants in that little circle there in our yard. In February and March, we had a lot of freezing weather and it killed 8 of our 9 bushes. And so I replaced the 8 bushes that were dead with all those, and they're thriving so much. So I had to share. There's a lot of pop of colors. There's orange, of course, red, yellow. There's some pink in the middle. So if you look in the middle, I'm gonna put my finger, I think, in there. I'm not sure where the camera is. Is it on this side? I don't know where it's at. I don't want to mess it up. There it is. So in the middle, right where my top of my finger nail is the pink. It's right in the middle. It's so fun. Anyway, yeah, so the pink one is the only one that lasted through all the freezing temperatures. Yeah, crazy. Well, anyway, welcome back everybody to Dragonfly Caregiving Chronicles with Carrie. My name is Carrie. Let's before we begin, let's take a moment for ourselves. Let's breathe, because not because caregiving stops, we know it doesn't, but because sometimes we need a reminder to pause and to breathe. So let's take a moment to breathe together. We're going to inhale through our nose for a count of 4, and then we're going to hold it for a count of 4, and then we're going to exhale through our mouth for a count of 4. Are you ready? Here we go. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, and then we're going to hold it for a count of 4. And then we're going to exhale through our mouth for a count of 4. Oh, thank you for taking a moment for yourself today. I know you're busy. I know you may be caring for someone you love. I know you may be worried, exhausted, overwhelmed, or simply trying to make it through the day. Today, I want to talk to you about why we choose comfort over fighting nature. This is a difficult topic. I was typing this up yesterday, and I went through a whole box of tissue yesterday. So I'm going to try to share this without crying today. If I do get a little voice crack, I'm going to try to plug through, so bear with me. This is a difficult topic, but it's one that many caregivers eventually face. And as always, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional. I can't tell you how many times I told my mom I'm not a nurse. One of the biggest fears I had before hospice entered our story was something a doctor told me. I was told, this is before we even brought hospice in. We had the home health here first for a couple of months, and then they directed us to hospice after that. And then I talked to a representative with hospice first before reaching out to the doctor, just to see, make sure that we were on the right path and what kind of things that hospice would help with my mom's care. So I had a list of things for her, and she was so sweet, and she said, for sure your mom's a candidate, blah, blah, blah. But of course they have to do an assessment. And the best way, though, to do that here is to have a doctor referral. The doctor should get that started for you. But then I learned later, after the fact, that really we didn't need to get the doctor involved. But we did. We did it the right way. And I have to say, at the beginning, the doctors hesitated. It took the doctor 3 days, I think. The first day we reached out to the doctor and told the doctor what we wanted, what my mom wanted. Sorry, not what we wanted, but my mom has decided what she wanted, and we were we were understanding the situation as hospice would come in to provide care for her. Not that death was imminent, sooner than later, but that wasn't even on the table, the death talk, the end of life kind of stuff. It was just to provide an extra set of the next level of care for her pain and for her comfort in this next journey of her life. And the doctor was on board, said, okay, what place do you want? Like what, I guess there's like 2 or 3, I don't even know how many places are here. And I said, oh, well, my mom isn't the home health people recommended this place. Okay, we'll get that going. Well, and then the next day, we get a phone call from the doctor who wants to talk to my mom, because before they were talking to me, and they want to talk to my mom since she's in her right mind, and they need to do a video call with her to make sure that this is what she wants. And I said, well, okay, but do you have to do a video call? Can you just do it? Like, I can hand the phone to my mom. And then they went back and forth, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, oh, it was just fine yesterday. Why these extra steps, right? So I'm just explaining to you what our process was. And it was a little messy at first. Not like crazy messy, but just frustrating messy at first. The doctor was on board, and then the second day, this doctor was not putting it through because the hospice was like, well, we don't have it yet. And I'm like, I don't know. They want to talk to my mom, you know. And so I was worried, like, okay, well, is the doctor going to talk her out of it? Is he going to scare her? You know, is the doctor going to say something that's going to scare my mom? And then we're not going to get this to come in our house to have an assessment. We won't be able to see if we qualify, number one, and if this helps, you know, with her care because of a fear word or something that trigger, you know, maybe my mom was on board one day, but maybe she got scared the next, right? So thankfully my mom was on board. It was easy breezy. Oh my God, it was so nice. It could have went south for sure, but she was still straight. I'm like, okay. And maybe she stayed that way because she knew that it was important to me to see what help was available to my mom for her care moving forward. Because I did tell my mom, just because we have them come in for an assessment doesn't mean we have to do it, you know. We need to talk about it, and then we'll decide that way. You know, that was what we both agreed to a year, November, when we had our first discussion, that we would communicate. We would have this communication. And thankfully I was able to do that. Not everybody has that capability or ability to do that with their loved one when they bring hospice in, right? Sometimes hospice is brought in at the very end, or everybody's circumstance is different. I'm just explaining and sharing my circumstance, my story. So I hope that's okay. So anyway, the doctor gets on the phone and talks to me for a little bit and then wants to talk to my mom. And so with my mom, her sleeping pattern was changing. You know, her eating habit was already changed. She was sleeping more. So to catch my mom awake was, I don't want to say 100% difficult, but it was becoming more difficult. And I'm not one to going to wake up my mom. If you call and you want to talk to my mom and she's asleep, sorry, I'm not waking her up. If you come over and she's asleep, sorry, I'm not going to waking her up. That's the person I am. And that's how I've been the whole time. So it was a little hard to get my mom on the phone for a little bit when the doctor was available in the morning, but my mom wasn't available until like noon, you know. So thankfully it all worked out. On the second day, the phone call happened. I'm sort of wigging out going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Between, you know, I woke up and then the noontime call, I'm freaking out going, oh my God, my mom's going to change her mind. She's going to be scared. You know, the doctor's going to say something and it's going to be a trigger. All these things, right? But then in the end, my mom goes, no, I want to see what's available. Yes, do it. You know, yes, I want it. So third day, the thing goes through to the hospice. So first day we initiated and it was supposed to go through, but it didn't. The second day, nothing happened except for the phone call back and forth. And then the third day is when the papers, the recommendation papers, whatever it is, referral papers were sent over to the hospice and were received by hospice. And so that one was Thursday. And then Friday they came out for the visit for the assessment. I mean, really it was quick, but it should have been quicker. We lost like 3 days of care. So they came out on Friday, did the assessment, and she qualified. All right. Okay. Another thing with the doctor, one more thing. And I think I might have shared this in an earlier video. The doctor, the reason why I was so worried about what the doctor was going to say and maybe scare my mom is because the doctor did that to me. When I initiated the phone call on the first day, it was all fine and it was very smooth or whatever. The second day, the doctor called and talked to me and put fear in me and made me mad. The doctor says, well, you know, I need to talk to your mom. You know that bringing in hospice, this is what the doctor said. that hospice, bringing it in, would make my mom die. And I'm like, well, how is that? And she said, hospice won't feed her. They won't allow her to have food. And I said to the doctor, are you serious? I mean, I was like, well, what? Do you not know me? And I said, well, listen here, doctor. I'm not going to say the name. I am my mother's caregiver. I was going to say my doctor's caregiver. I am my mother's caregiver. I live in her house 24/7, and I am her caregiver. I cook for her. I do all the things for her. And there is no not feeding her, kind of thing. And I won't allow that. If that's really going to happen, I won't allow it that. But I've never heard that, but whatever. And it really, first it sort of scared me at first. And then it made me mad. And then I'm thinking, well, that's why I was sort of in that spiral thing of thinking, what in the hell is this doctor going to say to my mother that's going to freak her out? So when the doctor called at the 12 or 12:30 time to talk to my mom, I answered and I said, listen, you don't say anything to scare my mom. My mom is in a fragile state. She's in a lot of pain. And we're looking not to just hook up with hospice. We're looking to see what's available for her care. So you ask her point blank if she wants hospice or not. And that's it. And thankfully, the doctor listened. I was like, thankfully, hallelujah. And in my time, I'm going off my script a little bit, sorry. In my time dealing with the doctors, I've realized there are doctors who do and who are open to the care. Like, okay, you want to go check things out? Go check things out. Great, do it. I'll support you as much as I can. I'm a doctor though. And there's doctors who want to give you all the pharmaceuticals they can and keep you under their care. I think there's two different kinds of doctors. There's a kind that are like, okay, yes, hospice is the next step. You want that? Let's do it. And there's some who are like, nope, 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 nope. We're going to give you whatever medicine. I can't think of it. We'll just give you hydrocodone. That'll help you. Or whatever it is. Oxycodone. That'll help you. I'm like, no, we need morphine. No, I didn't know we needed morphine until the end. All right. So that was my story on that. All right. So it was... yeah, as a daughter, it was terrifying to hear that from the doctor. As a caregiver, it was heartbreaking. I was like, are you kidding me? But I'm like, well, maybe the doctor's just warning me. And I will take that warning. I will keep it in my folder, in my arsenal for sure. But with hospice, when they came in and they took care of my mom, there was never an issue about taking away food. That was not what we experienced at all. No siree. I have to tell you, long before hospice arrived, and I'm going to say months, maybe 3 to 4 months before, my mom's eating habits were already changing. And it may have been because of the medicine that the doctor was giving her. They gave her all this different medicine in September to see what would work, would not work. And I noticed that her eating habits, they changed in October. They made a big change in October. When I first moved here, my mom, oh my God, she loved those Cheryl's sugar cookies. Cheryl's sugar cookies, they don't only make sugar cookies. And if you know the sugar cookies, they make them for all different seasons. And they're pink for the spring. And they have flowers. And they have pumpkins for the Halloween. And they have USA, the sparkles and blue frosting and white frosting with all the USA frosting sparkles. It's so cute. But they're very buttery, sugary cookies. But they also have other kinds in this variety pack that she used to get. They would have chocolate chip. They would have a spice kind of cookie and a dark chocolate cookie and something else, I forget. But she loved them. And she would, when she was moving a little bit more than she did at the end, she would scuttle or shuffle herself to the refrigerator after doing the dishes, and she would open that drawer where I kept all her cookies at in the refrigerator to keep them fresh, and she would hide all throughout her three-wheeler thing that she had. She would put them in all these different spaces. She had a nice basket on there for things, but she would hide them in there like a couple, but then she'd hide like 3 more somewhere else, like, oh, Carrie's not going to find these. She'll never see it, So it's too cute. So then there was a storage. She had like a little area next to her, like a little storage area for her face cream and things to for her face routine, to keep up her regimen, her skin regimen. And then there was, of course, the things for your fingernails to cut them and file them, and all these things were in there at easy grasp for her. And there was a drawer of snacks, and in that drawer of snacks were these cookies along with a whole bunch of other snacks. But it was too funny. But she loved these cookies, and she had, I think at one time in one day, she had like 6 cookies in one day. She would enjoy several cookies, and I just told you how many. That's a lot. And she's amazed. I'm amazed she was never diabetic. All her blood work she did, she never had any issue with that, whatever that part that says you're a diabetic. She was always in the normal range for that. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, she would enjoy several cookies throughout the day and still eat her meals. Then it became fewer cookies, and then it was smaller meals, then one meal on a big full plate, and then it became a small dessert plate. What surprised me that it just wasn't a straight line. There were good days. There were holiday meals that she actually wanted seconds. Like Thanksgiving, she wanted seconds on a couple things. She had a full dinner plate. She ate it. It was like lunchtime. She ate it, plus had a little bit of extra. The next day, she would probably have the full dinner plate. And then if we had pasta, sometimes we put it in a bowl. She might want another little serving, like a half a serving of it. But she'd finish her whole bowl. And yeah, like a salad, she'd have her whole bowl. But then there were some things, I thought maybe she didn't like them or something. I would cook something else. But her tummy was off. Certain things hurt her tummy. Things that she used to love and would eat all the time were now given her a side effect of some sort. It could be diarrhea, it could be nausea. It just didn't settle in her tummy the way it used to. And her eating became less and less. Christmas, she enjoyed another holiday meal. And for a moment, it felt like things were improving, of course. In January, she had a big pasta meal and a big stir-fried meal. But then it'd be like one day a week. It would be big. And then all of a sudden, it'd be back to those dessert-size plates. And then that was in January, right? And then I guess March is when we got down to the ramekin. I would put like 3 ramekins out of whatever it was for lunch, and then of course I always put a bowl of grapes out so she can always eat grapes because she loved grapes. Always a banana, always with cottage cheese and fruit if that's what she wanted, or a bagel or a pastry. But okay, so the bagel that she used to always eat, she would eat maybe 2 bites of. The pastry that she would just chow down in for breakfast or whatever, when she woke up, that would be like her first little treat. She might have had 1 bite of, and then that'd be it. I'm like, wow, it might take her 4 days to have that pastry or Danish. It was so different. So when they're eating like they used to, you think, oh, and then they that 1 day a week, it's like, oh, yes, maybe they're getting stronger. Maybe they're turning a corner. Maybe things are going to get better. But looking back, I can see that what was happening just wasn't a straight line. It was more of a staircase. A few steps down, a small step up. And then you plateau. Another step down, another good day. Another plateau. And then another change. Caregiving, as we know, isn't usually a steady decline. Neither is hospice. And I know a lot of people blame hospice, but if I want to think about it, I think it's the medication that my mom was prescribed back in September. And then also her health journey. Her body was just saying enough is enough. The changes aren't always dramatic. Sometimes they're just small shifts that add up over time. There are good days mixed in with difficult days. There are surprises. There are moments that make you hopeful. And there are moments that make you realize things are changing. One of those moments for me happened when my mom told me something I'll never forget. I mean, to this day, I'm still shocked that she said it out of her mouth. She said, my body doesn't need water anymore. My mom, this woman who always had water all the time, even when I was like in junior high, I remember always getting my mom water, like multiple times a day. I'd fill her water with fresh water and ice. Even moving into this house, she had two containers, one full of ice, one had ice and water. She liked really, really cold water. And in the morning, I'd hear her water thing. She'd pop up. It was like one of those to-go travel mugs. She loved it. She had two of them. I tried to change them out to be bigger or to be easier to hold on to. Nope. She wanted these travel mugs. I'm like, that's fine. I tried, but you want it? That's fine. Every day I'd have to fill it. When I first got here, probably 3 or 4 times a day. Maybe more than that, probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times a day. And then, at first in the morning, I'd make sure it's fresh because she didn't like it overnight to sit there, even though the ice was still very icy in her cup, but she wanted it to be changed. And then we'd change it again at lunchtime, and then we'd change it for sure when we went to bed, either at nap time and at bedtime. And then whatever, yeah. And then she always had a bottle of water in case she wanted to fill it herself, right? She couldn't. It was just sort of she had a routine before I came here. And so when she said that, my body doesn't need water anymore. I'm like, what? And this happened about 2 weeks before she died. This was a woman who always had her water nearby. I was constantly refilling the water bottles. Oh my God, it was. So when she said that, I remember thinking, yes, your body does need water. What the heck? But I'll be honest, I didn't sass back. I didn't argue with her. I didn't say anything. I just listened, and I was like, huh. And over time, I realized she was trying to tell me something important. Her body was changing. The same thing happened with food. Hospice never told my mom she couldn't eat. I never told my mom she couldn't eat. In fact, if I made something and my mom didn't want it, I always ran by the menu by her. But what if she looked at it and I don't want this now? She had a personal chef at her fingertips. I would have ran out to get her if she had a hankering for KFC, Mexican food, Chinese food, pizza, whatever. A burger she likes Burger King. Whatever. I told her I would go out and get it. I don't care what time. I will go get it. If you want it, I'm going to get it for you. So she knew, I hope, that she wouldn't go hungry, right? And it's not putting me out. That's what I'm here for, I kept telling her. She was encouraged to eat whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted. The difference was that we stopped trying to force her body to do something it no longer wanted to do. That was one of the hardest lessons I learned as a caregiver and as her daughter. Of course, I wanted more time. Excuse me. Here we go. Of course, I wanted more time. I wanted more conversations. I wanted more memories. I wanted my mom here as long as possible. But I didn't want her to stay here in pain simply because I wasn't ready to let her go. As her heart condition progressed, even getting up, walking to the bathroom became exhausting. I watched her struggle for air. I think that was one of the worst things ever. I watched her work harder and harder just to do the simple things that I personally take for granted to this day. I would sit beside her in bed when she got back into her bed while she caught her breath. I would try to breathe with her, hoping that would help her catch her breath. Sometimes getting her breath back, to catch it back, would be maybe it took seconds, and then it became minutes, and then it became like 3 minutes, and I'm like, oh. But watching someone you love struggle for air is incredibly difficult. Eventually, Hospice introduced us to something that would help her. They offered her 2 things. They offered her oxygen, and they offered her morphine. And my mom, I don't know why she said no to oxygen. I don't know. And it wasn't like she had to carry the machine with her. It was like, just have it by your bed, so when you get back to bed, you can put it on and you don't struggle for air no more. That was the thing that the nurse said. But they gave her morphine, so that they introduced the medication to help her with her no longer air struggle, and also for her pain, because she had some severe hip and leg pain. Whew. That was for sure another difficult moment for me. When my mother could still take her own medication, oh my God, it felt just great. When my mom could take her own medication when she wanted it, I was like, yes. And she would take it. Not all the time. She still struggled to do things and fight the way she used to. But then I would tell her, Mom, you're fighting right now. Why do you want to fight? Is this really what you want? And some days she would be like, I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, I didn't fight her. I just would remind her that she had the morphine's right there in front of you. I've prepared it for you. If you want to take it, I'm making sure that I'm monitoring you so you're not overdosing, because this is a narcotic, right? And so I prepare it. I put it out for her. I make sure she doesn't take like 8 in a day. I think she could take, I think it was 4 in a day was the max, I think, at the time. But she wasn't taking 4. She was taking 1 a day. And then sometimes it was 2, and then sometimes it was back to 1, and then sometimes it was 3, and then sometimes it was 2. It was back and forth, back and forth. Later, when she needed help, I became part of the process for her medication, and that was for me emotionally hard. I know there are families who worry that comfort medications are what caused the death. I can only share what I experienced. What I saw was a woman whose body was already changing before we brought in hospice, before we brought in morphine, before we brought in all the other stuff. A woman who was already eating less. My mom was eating less. My mom was drinking less. My mom was sleeping so much more. And she was struggling so much more before we brought hospice in. The goal wasn't to make her die. No. The goal was to make sure she wasn't suffering. For our family, hospice wasn't about giving up. It was about choosing comfort when her body was already telling us what it needed. Looking back, I believe one of the final acts of caregiving is learning when to stop fighting nature and start supporting comfort. That doesn't mean you love them less. You have to advocate for them more. It may mean you love them enough to listen and to advocate for them more. I can't emphasize that enough. You need to advocate for your loved one more, because they can't do it no more. They're too tired. They're in pain. They're struggling. They know what they want, but they, talking to doctors can be intimidating for some people, for a lot of people. Talking to nurses. My mom hated when the nurses asked to, if to treat her. She hated to be treated like a patient. She hated it. I totally get it. I don't like that either. They asked her every single day when they were here, whenever they were here, if she had a bowel movement. And it was not just the nurse, it was the aide. So after like 2 times of that, my mom finally told me, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Do you mind if they ask me and I tell them? And she's like, yeah, I don't want to tell them anymore, or I want them gone. And I'm like, okay. So before they came in the house, we did the Q&A outside, and then I brought them into the house to talk to my mom. Oh my God. Well, you guys, thank you so much for listening to me. I hope if you're walking this journey with someone you love, please know that you're not alone. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Did you notice changes in your loved ones eating or drinking before hospice entered your story? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you know anyone else on or getting ready for this journey, please feel free to share this video and the channel with them. It's free to do all that. I don't share your information with anybody. I think it just asks, I don't think it asks for anything. I think you just click on subscribe. I don't collect your data. I don't have your email. I don't have your phone. I don't even have your name. So yeah. So thank you. Take care of yourself. And remember, you, caregiver, you need care too. You watched my last video. It tells you all about that. All right, you guys. You take care of yourself and enjoy your day. Bye.